Today I want to show you how I like to do sidechain ducking on the Digitakt, and no, it is not using the compressor. The compressor on the Digitakt, while it is awesome and I'm very happy to have a Master Compressor on my drum machine, is just not set up for doing sidechain ducking. It allows you to select a sidechain source. For us, it would be track 1, right? Because that's usually the kick track on the Digitakt. Problem is that when you sidechain from the kick track, you're going to sidechain your entire mix based off that kick. Vibe that you get from ducking is, essential in a lot of different genres. Let me show you how I like to do sidechain ducking. So instead of using the compressor, what we want to do is select a track that we're going to duck. So I'm going to go to track 3 because I got this single cycle waveform going. It sounds really smooth. Check this out. It's got a very Moog sound to it. I really like this oscillator selection. It's called hollow ramp. This is a single cycle waveform that comes with your Digitakt, so you can make this same sound too if you end up liking it as well. I'm just doing a nice little filter sweep here. For this demonstration, I'm not going to make a whole track. I'm just going to throw down triggers and show you how this gets done. This is just the meat and potatoes, and then I'm going to let you go so you can go do it yourself. Go ahead and fill this whole section up with triggers for the demonstration once again. It doesn't have to be full of triggers. I could have a sample that's 16 steps long and do, ducking on 1, 9, 5, and 13, because that's usually where a kick drum would be in a 4 on the floor pattern. So it doesn't have to be set up this way, but I think this shows how surgical you can get with the ducking by having all these trigs. So what we want to do is head over to the trig menu, and we're going to turn off LFO to trig. This little section right here can actually be parameter locked back on. What we want to do is lock trig to on every step that we want to have ducked. So I want to duck 1, 9, 5, and 13 because I'm going to throw kick drums down on that exact same pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this on, I'm going to lock this on, and lock this on. And now we're going to head over to one of the 2 LFOs. And it's great that we have 2 LFOs because now we don't have to sacrifice our only LFO to do sidechain ducking. We can use one of them for sidechain ducking, and the other one we can use to, slowly modulate the filter frequency to give us some movement in our bass line. What I want to do now is select the amplitude volume. This is what we're going to be ducking. You can also duck with the filter if you want, but I think this actually works great on the Digitakt. Sometimes filter ducking works better on other devices like the Octatrack. The filter can sometimes be a better choice if it's being clocked from a different device just because of the way the transients will line up. The next thing we want to do is change the depth here, and this is all going to be adjustable to taste. So this will be dependent on what you want to do for your music production. I'm going to bring it all the way down, and then we'll go back up and kind of like find the sweet spot. But for now, we'll just duck all the way down to 0 volume. I'm going to change my speed here to 16 and the BPM multiplier, I'm going to leave it 8. I'm now going to switch the LFO shape to an exponential curve, which is now inverted because I brought the depth to a negative value. And I'm going to set the LFO to trig mode 1. This means the LFO will only cycle the one time when it's triggered. And this works just fine for us because it will duck just once and the cycle will end. You can set it to LFO to trig and it will honestly still work, but LFO trig 1 is probably the smoothest way to get this done. Now all we have to do is hit play because this is it. This is the final setup. It's the final boss. There it is. Now if I throw down a kick drum, there we go. And like I said, you can dial in this ducking to taste. So like here's if we bring some of the depth back. Let's bring the filter down here. Go to 16 with the multiplier and it still sounds pretty good. So you can dial this all in to whatever you want it to be. Check this out. If we go over here with these hats, this is just the default hats. Make sure it's at 16. Check this out. Now let's duck these hats because this could sound pretty cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and hold these 2 down and lock in LFO trig on. Let's turn it off and then go over here and do that same thing. I'm going to head back over to track 3, which is where we did our sidechain ducking. Go to the LFO, hold down the LFO button, hit copy, head back over to this track, hold that down and hit paste. And there is our LFO ducking setup. And now we're ready to go. Check this out. Not bad, right? You don't just have to do this on like a grid of trigs. If we go over to another track and we put a sample down, let's get recorded. And if we do exactly what we did before with the LFO, let's paste it in, go to the trig mode, turn it off, trig on function, place down a parameter lock step, not a trigger that will reset the sample playback or start the sample. Turn that trig on, let's just copy that trigger, paste it, and now it'll do the same thing for that sound. so easy, and it sounds awesome. And that's it. That's how I like to do sidechain ducking on the Digitakt. You can do this exact same technique on the Digiton or the Octatrack or the Syntakt. Maybe you can on the model cycles and the model samples, but you definitely can on the analog 4 and the analog rhythm, or you can use the compressor if you like, but I still prefer this method over the compressor. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. Do something nice for someone else today.